tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one as well, this car. Seems to be a nice response so far to my little preview video, so why not get on with it and get a couple of these covered here tonight. I mentioned in the preview video that this car, the Mercedes SLR McLaren, was featured in one of my favorite Top Gear episodes. Pretty sure I'd driven it in Gran Turismo 4 before I started watching Top Gear, and those of you who've played Gran Turismo 4, you may remember the extremely difficult driving mission, the dreaded driving mission 34, where you were driving this car and you had to do a lap of the Nürburgring, the full Nordschleife, and you had to start behind 5 other cars who you had to beat to the finish line, and it was a 2-minute 3-second standing start if you had the North American version of the game. I hear that the European version, the standing start was a little bit shorter, but still essentially almost a 2-minute standing start. So every time that you would make a mistake and restart the challenge, you were sitting there for another 2 minutes before you could even set off. I don't have to tell you how frustrating that can be if you're not having the greatest time beating that challenge. So usually if you're going for 100% completion, that would end up being sort of the last thing you would conquer before achieving that. Very tricky. I eventually got to a point where I'd do that challenge just for fun and I could beat it pretty much every time, but there was a time where it took 50 or 60 attempts before I made it. So anyway, but the car is outstanding. I mean, it's just amazing. I've seen it in person once. I'm pretty sure it would have been at the DC Auto Show in Washington, D.C. And it's such an expensive car that, of course, it was roped off. I believe these cost close to $500,000 in the States, or they did at the time. And I would imagine they're probably worth every penny if you're lucky enough to own one. But obviously I've never even sat in one. I've been close enough. I've been about this close to it. Close enough to take pictures, but not much else. And I believe that the one on display was this color. So when I saw this on Amazon, and this was one of the available colors, unfortunately it wasn't in a color that I would normally choose, black or red, something like that. I think they had probably a silver, but I decided I might do well to have at least one blue car in my collection. So here it is. Now before I get too into the brushing and polishing, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the moving parts. Let's see if I can remember which way this opens. It might be this way. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if you can see that. There we go. Not bad detail, I would think. That's the engine, obviously. The engine in this thing, I would imagine, is a big V8, supercharged, actually, and I think Jeremy Clarkson said that it had 660 horsepower, something thereabouts. You know, obviously a lot of grunt. You step on the pedal and wow, it makes some very nice noise. So, sorry about that. I've got a kitty that doesn't seem to want to be quiet here and stay out of trouble. Anyway, but yeah, the Top Gear episode showing this car is really amazing, and it was pretty funny watching Jeremy Clarkson try to get in and out of the car with these doors. But here's the interior. Really like how those doors open kind of up and out. It's sort of a gull wing, but it manages not to just go straight up. It also goes forward just a little bit. This trunk also opens a little, not a whole lot. There you go. Kind of shows how tiny the boot, as they call it, is. But you can also see the neat little diffuser again. It's got your little fins under there. Side. And of course the wheels work, which is pretty cool. You can see those huge brakes in there. There it is. It's a really neat shape there. Model is really heavy. A lot of times you wonder, I mean, this was one of the least expensive models I've ever got. And you always wonder if that's going to affect the quality, but it really doesn't sometimes. You know, I would say the construction and just the build quality of this model is better than some models I've bought that cost almost 10 times as much. It just amazes me sometimes. So yeah, if you're ever gonna consider getting a model by Maisto, I would certainly recommend it. I have at least 3 of them that I can think of off the top of my head, and I've been pleased with every one. So yeah, very good model. Like it a lot. So. This car does have sort of a successor. It's just kind of it's still got some of the same styling, but I believe it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more or less the same power. I'm not really sure, but I did notice that the handling was a little bit easier, at least in the games I've played, and the lap times that it could do around the Nürburgring were slightly faster. But I think that a lot of the drivers that have had the pleasure of taking this out for a drive would probably say that it's one of the best supercars, despite the cost, of course. I'm sure that when you collaborate with McLaren on a car, just the level of detail on a lot of the things that you may even take for granted, I'm sure, is pretty amazing. But this car is just so iconic in a way, and very beautiful. I can't think of that many cars that really look like this. So very nice. Well, there you have it. Kind of a brief little look at this car, but it's certainly kind of one of my favorites in my collection now. And I hope you enjoyed taking a quick look at it and a little bit of brushing. And yeah. The one thing this doesn't illustrate is the way that the rear wing pops up if you step on the brake. But oh well. I guess I can live without that little detail. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Well, that's about it for tonight. It's getting awfully late, and I need to catch up on some sleep before work. So, anyway, I hope this gave you some relaxation as well, and have a good night.